Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Cohn. President Donald Trump not saying when, but tonight announces the U.S. will attack terrorists and criminal networks overseas.
He told the country tonight America is going to change its approach, and instead of nation building, we kill terrorists in the Middle East.
The president outlines a new strategy for fighting the longest war in U.S. history.
He traveled to Virginia tonight, where he detailed the next steps. Zhang has the latest from the White House.
Surrounded by soldiers at Fort Myer, Virginia, President Trump outlined his vision to move forward in Afghanistan.
We will not talk about numbers of troops or our plans for further military activities. Conditions on the ground, not arbitrary timetables, will guide our strategy from now on.
As a private citizen, the president criticized the war and advocated withdrawing from Afghanistan. He vowed to put America first as commander-in-chief. Monday night, the president pointed to the rise of terror groups as the reason to deepen U.S. involvement and pressured Pakistan to help.
Pakistan often gives safe haven to agents of chaos, violence, and terror.
President Trump's primetime announcement came after months of discussions with administration officials. Steve Bannon, who just left his job as chief strategist on Friday, was adamantly opposed to the idea of increasing troops. Defense Secretary James Mattis was in favor of it.
A hasty withdrawal would create a vacuum that terrorists, including ISIS and al-Qaeda, would instantly fill.
President George W. Bush first sent U.S. troops to Afghanistan after the 9/11 attacks. Since then, more than 2,200 of them have died. Zhang, CBS News, the White House.
As it stands today, slightly more than 8,000 American troops remain in Afghanistan.
Hundreds of millions of Americans don protective glasses and crane their necks to the sky today to watch the first solar eclipse to sweep the nation from coast to coast in nearly 100 years.
It was a cosmic spectacle not to be missed. And millions of Americans had the best seats in the house. The moon first blotted out the sun in Madras, Oregon, then threw some serious shade on the city of Salem.
So emotional. This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Satellite imagery showed the trajectory's coast-to-coast sweep, the first of its kind in 99 years. Eye protection was mandatory, especially for the youngest of viewers. During the total eclipse here in St. Joseph, Missouri, it got completely dark out and considerably cooler. But you did not have to be in the path of totality to enjoy the show. The sun over New York City's Times Square was 71% covered. It was 81% over the nation's capital. Vice President Pence hosted students at his home, which is also a naval observatory. President Trump watched with his family from the White House terrace before the eclipse headed out over the Atlantic, where a certain cruise ship was waiting. Bonnie Tyler sang her 1983 hit Total Eclipse of the Heart just before the skies went dark. For many, the day was filled with magic and wonder.
And what I think is the most wonderful part is the people, when they're all so together, because one thing I noticed is you've got every type of person here.
Coming together to celebrate the moon's day in the sun. Don Champion, CBS News, St. Joseph, Missouri.
One of the best places to watch the eclipse, the state of Wyoming, but just getting to the Cowboy State to witness the total eclipse today, well, that proved to be quite the phenomenon in its own right.
Motorists reported a steady stream of traffic early this morning heading south. Now check out this video from Jeff Hosa, shot along Interstate 25. Now this traffic all headed south toward Douglas, Wyoming. The steady line of cars and trucks extending nearly as far as the eye can see.
And the Wyoming Highway Patrol also reporting a significant increase in traffic along the I-25 corridor. This picture taken from the area near Cheyenne. The Highway Patrol in Wyoming says traffic started to pick up as early as 3 this morning, and the traffic actually came to a near stop in the Cheyenne area due to the congestion.
Q2's Ed McIntosh was among thousands who traveled to Casper, Wyoming to witness the eclipse in its totality.
And Ed was joined by Montana 2015 Teacher of the Year Craig Beals from Billings Senior, who found himself at a loss for words after watching this spectacular event.
As a science teacher, this is just a spectacle, you know, to see that sort of science come to life. But I think as a human being, it's even more cool to experience that and not just be able to see it visually, like feeling that change in temperature and feeling that eeriness that sort of came as it got darker and darker. I mean, it was a spectacle. It was better than I could have imagined.
Yeah, and I think we both probably feel the same way in that it started off as something that was about science and understanding what was going on and all of the possibilities that we could learn from it, but when it really came down to it, it was really more of a human, emotional thing.
Absolutely. The human element of that, to watch people flooding out of the stores, to watch families, you know, pulling up chairs in the lawn and everything else, to experience this for most of us might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, it was really neat.
Really neat. I think that pretty much sums it up. Here in Billings, people were lined up on top of the rims to get a view of the 93% eclipse.
Their reactions speak for themselves.
It was cool.
Cool.
It was much more spectacular than even expected.
It was great, but it was lighter than I thought it would be.
Think of how much of the sun was covered when you look at it through the glasses, that there's so much light that's coming out and still illuminating.
It was my first time ever seeing it in my life, and I just thought it was like really cool because I've never seen it before.
Not just neat, but cool as well. Now, the next total solar eclipse won't be crossing the United States until 2024, but if you're willing to travel, well, the next total solar eclipse will take place in South America in 2019.
Turning to weather, many of us saw the eclipse from the ground, like probably you at home. But Bob, you have a different perspective to show us and explain.
We were wondering, what about 250 miles up in the sky from the International Space Station? That's what it looked like here. See that spot at the top of your screen? That is the eclipse right there, as seen from the International Space Station. Now we go 22,000 miles up, and you see that black dot going across the United States. This is on GOES-16, the new satellite, and that is what that is. Now, look at this area. See the area highlighted? What is that little speck going across the disk of the sun? That's the International Space Station as seen from the Earth. Kind of a cool looking set of videos, isn't it? Anyway, our forecast is talking about more sunshine coming your way in the next few days, and temperatures are going to warm up. We'll chat more about that coming up in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob.
A former Laurel educator will not be working in a classroom for the next 3 years after admitting that she sent partially nude photos to a student.
Q2's Asia Gord joins us with more on the suspension of former Laurel Middle School assistant principal Sarah Sheldon. Asia.
Jane, Jeanelle, it was back in September when Sarah Sheldon accepted a friend request from a teenage boy on Facebook and began talking online. Sheldon admitted in a phone conversation with the Office of Public Instruction's licensure program manager that the conversation became flirtatious. Sheldon eventually realized the 17-year-old boy had been a former student of hers when he was about 12 years old. Sheldon told the state education official she was drinking one night when the boy requested photos of her. Sheldon sent the boy partially nude photos and a sexual video. The next day, Sheldon tried to contact that boy about the photos, but he wouldn't answer. Those photos were shared around the school in December, leading Sheldon to submit her resignation. Education officials say so far the video has not surfaced. On the same day the Laurel superintendent submitted the incident report to OPI, we asked Laurel police about the situation. The police chief told me there was no criminal investigation and the incident was not newsworthy. Jane, Jeanelle?
All right, thanks, Asia.
And Asia tells us the student is still in school, however, is not enrolled in the Laurel school system.
The transient man sentenced to prison in September for fatally stabbing a man in downtown Billings just before Christmas has died. The Montana State Prison reporting today 57-year-old Robert Bauer died in a Missoula hospital on Friday following an extended illness. Bauer was serving a 45-year prison sentence for the 2015 murder of Joseph Broken Rope. Bauer stabbed the victim to death outside the Old Billings bus station. Prosecutors say Bauer believed he was owed money by Broken Rope, a longtime acquaintance. Bauer was convicted of mitigated deliberate homicide because prosecutors agreed Bauer's depression caused by his homelessness contributed to his deadly actions.
Southwest of Missoula, the Low Peak fire has now blackened more than 31,000 acres. More than 1,000 personnel assigned to that fire, which was sparked by lightning in mid-July. Just last week, 2 primary homes were lost to the advancing flames. MTN's Kent Lutzen learned more today about how those homes were lost.
Public Information Officer Mike Cole tells us fire crews were back burning in the Upper Folsom Road area last Thursday, August 17th, when multiple embers crossed the containment line and gathered too much intensity, causing structures to burn. Despite losing 2 homes and several structures, Cole said this burnout strategy played a major role in protecting dozens of homes.
If we had not put essentially what we're talking about as a giant catcher's mitt of black between the control line and where the fire was coming from, you'd have a whole different scenario of what the Lolo area looked like right now compared to what it looks like today.
Burnout operations are a common practice in containing large wildland fires, according to Cole. He says these operations are only put in place when conditions are just right.
We never sacrifice someone's property at the expense of trying to do something off a control line. But fire's a risky business. I mean, especially when you have, you know, pretty much a monster fire coming towards your home. And then when you got 30,000 acres of ground on fire already and this thing isn't over yet, there's a lot of risk involved.
Ronnie Harvey, one of the residents who lost a structure due to the burnout operation, said he lost his barn filled with tools, a snowmobile, and bikes. While many are getting back into their home, Harvey, along with his neighbors, are trying to process the loss.
How do you replace it all? You know, how do you go through and you make a list of everything that you did lose? Because you know, there's stuff that you can't get to. With the roof laying on top of product, you just don't know where to start.
In Lolo, Kent Lutzen, MTN News.
Very difficult situation. Thank you, Kent. Today, crews were again conducting back-burning operations in hopes the residents can begin to get back into their homes.
Still to come on tonight's 10 o'clock news, the Veterans Secretary in Helena today to address the embattled VA health system and what it's done to fix it.
And later in sports tonight, a round you'll just have to see to believe. Joey Moore's latest exploits at the Billings Golf Invite today.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire and sports with Scott Green.